Hey everyone. Today I want to talk about loneliness as an aspec person. Now, we've all heard the common misconception that being aromantic or asexual automatically means being lonely. And I want to start by saying that that is not accurate. Plenty of aro and ace people live happy, fulfilling lives with strong friendships, found families, meaningful connections that matter to them, including sexual and romantic relationships if that's what they want. But I also think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, sometimes we do get lonely. And that's okay. It's human. So this video isn't about reinforcing the stereotype that aspec people are destined for loneliness. It's about recognizing that it's something we all experience at some point, and talking about healthy ways to handle it. Before we jump in, I want to quickly remind you that my debut book, Limitless: Poetry of an Aromantic and Asexual Journey, is available now, and it deals with a lot of these concepts that I'm going to be talking about today. There's info on my website on where you can order it online and buy it in select stores. So check out the description below to find out where you can get your hands on a copy. And if you have read it, if I could ask a quick favor of you, if you could leave a review on Goodreads and other platforms that have book reviews, it would really help with visibility. This book is self-published. It's only me. So I don't have the backing of a publishing house or an agent to help get the word out. So every review, every rating, every time you post a comment mentioning it or tell a friend about it, it really helps people learn that this book exists. So let's go right into it. Why can loneliness hit differently for aro and or ace people? For a lot of people, society presents romance and sex as the ultimate form of connection. From childhood, we're told that growing up means falling in love, finding the one, getting married, having kids. You know the story. There's this weirdly early rhetoric around dating in particular that I know I received growing up as a guy, and maybe some people in the comments will be able to relate to this. I received a lot of comments like I was going to be such a little heartbreaker or a ladies' man around like 10, even younger. I was getting a lot of stuff like that growing up, and I always found that really uncomfortable. But people acted like it was normal things to say to a kid. But it's part of what Cody Daigle-Oriens refers to as the normative baddies in their latest book, The Ace and Aro Relationship Guide. It's amatonormativity, allonormativity, heteronormativity, these societal expectations that are put on us. So when you don't experience romantic or sexual attraction the way that most people do, it can sometimes feel like you're watching everyone else move through life on a path that just doesn't make sense for you. And that can feel really isolating, especially if you're completely happy being aro or ace. In some ways, it might even feel like you're letting people down. It's not necessarily that you want what they have. It's just that you don't always see the paths that you want in life being valued in the same way. Loneliness can creep up for different reasons, and I think it helps to understand where it's coming from. Here are just a few situations where it might hit. If you're the only aro or ace person in your friend group, it can sometimes feel like there's a disconnect. Conversations about dating, crushes, relationships, or things of a more physical nature, they might not resonate with you. And that can create a sense of being on the outside of your friends. Sometimes friendships change when romantic relationships enter the picture. This happens to pretty much everybody, but for aro and ace people, it can be especially tough because the world tries to tell us that romantic love should come first. It can be frustrating when deep friendships seem to take a back seat. Then there's the media constantly reinforcing the idea that love stories are the most important kinds of stories that there are. It's rare to see friendships treated with the same depth as romantic relationships, and if they are, it's usually played up for laughs. And it's even rarer to see aro or ace people with fully realized, fulfilling lives on screen. That lack of visibility can sometimes make it feel like we don't belong. Even when you fully embrace your identity, it can also be normal to have those moments where you wonder, am I missing out? This doesn't mean you actually want a romantic or sexual relationship. It just means that you live in a world that constantly tells you that you should want one. And those pressures can get to us sometimes. So, how do we handle that loneliness when it creeps up? I've got 5 steps that help me to ease that hold that loneliness has on me whenever it does creep up for me. The first, acknowledge your feelings. Don't gaslight yourself. If you're feeling lonely, don't brush it off. Don't just say, well, I chose this life, so I shouldn't feel this way. You didn't choose to be aro or ace. You just are you. And feeling lonely sometimes doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Everyone, regardless of identity, has moments of loneliness. The key is recognizing it for what it is, a moment, not a permanent state of being. Step 2 is to find your people. I can't stress this enough. Having the right people in your life makes all the difference. Now, that doesn't mean that you need a huge social circle. Just a few people who get you, that can be enough. This is where online communities can be a huge game changer. Whether it's Aspec spaces on Discord or Reddit or even in YouTube comment sections, connecting with people who share your experiences can remind you that you're not alone. And if you're more into in-person connection, finding a local lgbtqia plus group or even just one close friend who respects your identity and wants to learn about it and listen, that can be really fulfilling. Step 3 is to redefine what connection means to you. A lot of loneliness comes from the idea that if we don't have this specific type of connection, whether it be romantic, sexual, or familial even, then you're missing out. But that's just not true. Connection can come in so many forms. It can be in deep friendships, found family, creative collaborations, community involvement, even the bonds you have with your pets. It's about recognizing that your relationships don't have to look like what's considered normal to be meaningful. Remember those normative baddies and keep them away. Step 4 is to lean into the things that fulfill you. When you're feeling lonely, sometimes the best thing to do is to focus on what you love. Whether that's a hobby, a creative passion, something that just makes you feel good, lean into it. For me, I have a handful of different things to keep me moving, to keep me using that creative part of my brain, and keeps me looking forward to what's next. Sometimes it's writing poetry, or working on videos, or coming up with ideas for future novels that I want to write. Lately, I've actually been going to Milwaukee Admirals hockey games. It started out as a one-off because they were holding a Pride Night and I wanted to support that. But they have this promotion that if they win on a weeknight when you're there, you get a free ticket to their next home game as long as it's another weeknight. And they won on Pride Night. Then I got another free ticket because they won again the next time. So now I just keep getting to go. And in the spring and summer, it'll be baseball games and outdoor music festivals and a lot more Pokemon Go, including the Pokemon Regional Championship. And whether I'm doing these things with other people or not, they bring me joy. It's things like these that remind me that my life is so full in ways that aren't dictated by romantic or sexual relationships. And finally, step 5 is to be gentle with yourself. Loneliness isn't something that needs to be fixed right away. Sometimes just sitting with it and acknowledging it, that can be enough. Remember, this feeling is temporary. It's going to pass. And there are so many ways to build connections that don't rely on traditional relationship structures. Embrace the relationships that matter to you. That's what matters most. At the end of the day, being aro, ace, anywhere on the spectrum isn't a sentence to loneliness. But like anyone else, we all have moments when we feel it anyway. And that's okay. What matters is how we handle it. By being kind to ourselves, seeking connection in ways that make sense for us, and remembering that even if you prefer to be alone, that doesn't mean that it has to be lonely. Just because someone else thinks you're lonely doesn't make it true. No one can tell you what loneliness looks like for you except you. So I want to hear from you. What helps you deal with loneliness when it creeps up? Let's share our experiences in the comments and support each other. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and share it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.